Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. We are continuing the adventures of Johnnykin and the Goblins, and he's just seen and heard something small that was put sitting on the edge of a box. It was a little pixie, but before Johnnykin knew where he was, the two young ladies had joined their hands, put a shawl over them, and caught him up, so that he found himself sailing between them with interlocking arms high in the air. Down they came, not very quickly, for I think they all liked the fun of sailing about. Johnnykin observed all their things, that is, the perfume bottle, fans, the shawls, either put on wings or else spread themselves and came flying after them. They went downstairs, for the supper was in the crypt under the church, and they entered. The splendour of the scene startled Johnnykin. He had been looking at wonders for hours, but this was best of all. All around the room was scenery, like a diorama, for in the distance, appearing entirely real, rose in gold or crimson light, cliffs and castles with towers and turrets, pinnacles, precipices, ancient cathedrals, strange peaked houses, wild rocks, walls, stairs, and great trees. All seemed far away, as far in the olden time as in the distance. Beyond all, here and there, was the sea, and further still, in the blue, were little rosy islands, and on those again were little towers and little towns. Johnnykin could see on them broad white marble steps which went down into the green water, and with Marjolaine's glass perceived great vases with flowers on the steps and beautiful boats with high prows coming and going into the sunset. Nearer, but still far away, were hundreds of fine old gabled houses with great porches and vine-covered balconies held up by old monsters, high roofs full of carving on the pointed fronts, and bow windows supported by strange figures. Around them lay beautiful gardens, and all were as hushed and dreamy as in old times, for the gardens were so quiet, and the streets so still, that it seemed as if it must be always Sunday, and always summer there. Although there were people moving in it all, and indeed sometimes the company in the supper-room wandered away into the town. Then, very far in the background, in the country, Johnnykin saw the dark tower, half asleep. Out of the window came a very tiny figure, which went along the road which Johnnykin had travelled. He told this to Marjolaine, who only said, "Why didn't you tell me before? See here." Saying this, she screwed up the glass, and when he looked again, he could see the little man very plainly, though miles away. It was Friar Bacon. He walked on, disappearing sometimes among the trees or rocks, and then reappearing. Then he came to Pumpkin House. Johnnykin saw him talking to Peter, while Peter made a sign, as of a sword. All this time, Johnnykin and the young ladies were sitting comfortably at the table, while little boy Blue was waiting on them. He saw the Five-Finger Brothers, and the Land of Doubt, and the brook, with a little bridge, by which the rushes sang, and the sandy dunes, and the sea. "Can you see the place where you killed the awful money pig?" said Marjolaine suddenly. He could, and also saw Friar Bacon come on and grow bigger as he got nearer, until at last he came into town, and then, finally, into the hall, and after that to their table, where all greeted him. "Hey, Blue, my boy," he cried, "a quart of a bitter ale?" "Well, mortal boy," he said kindly to Johnnykin, "as you got a sword out of Peter, anybody that could listen to Peter talking about himself deserved it. I wish, when you go to London, you'd take the sword to the British Museum and ask Mr. Franks if it isn't the original Excalibur of King Arthur. He'll know. He talks as if I were a man grown and going to London," thought Johnnykin. Marjolaine smiled. The supper room was splendid. There were flowers everywhere, a great many flying about in the air and coming to people to be taken. And there was such a wealth of gold and silver, candelabras, vases, fountains, plate and goblets, such gorgeous draperies, and such wonderful chairs and lounges, as all the places in the world could never know. "You may call for anything you like," said Friar Bacon, as he sat down, after dipping his hands in a gold ewer and drying them on a lace-edged napkin. "And if you want to eat forever without its hurting you, just take a sip of the cordial in the bottle before you. That's my invention, mortal boy," he added, "and a good one, though I say it. The old monks all use it, jolly boys. "We always begin at goblin parties by pulling at crackers," said Chesme. "Pull one with me." Johnnykin picked up a fine large cracker, and they pulled. It went off with a horrible explosion, like a keg of gunpowder. Nobody was hurt, of course. But out of the blaze dropped something alive. In a few seconds it grew to human size and proved to be Master Charlie, cake and ale, as lively as ever. "Here we go again," said Charlie. "I told you I'd be here." That's in history. "Did your reverence say oysters?" he suddenly asked Friar Bacon, who smiled. "It was like your wisdom. I'll give the order." Saying this, Charlie picked up one of the great pack of blank cards, which were on the table in a silver cup, and wrote on it, "Oysters for 5." The card at once put on dragonfly wings and departed, returning in a minute, followed by a long train of natives with some lemons, who politely deposited them on the plates. "Oysters are really getting dear," said Friar Bacon, after he had eaten 6 dozen. There was, in fact, quite a constant procession through the air of oysters flying to his plate on one side, and of the shells flying away on the other. "I've seen the time, mortal boy, when you could get no end of them for what they now ask for 1 oyster. However," he added, more cheerfully, "just wait till I perfect my great invention for growing oysters by electricity, and then you'll see the good old Saxton prices again." "I made them grow so fast," said the friar, "that they couldn't stop. It kept 'em moving so." "Oh, look what I found!" cried Charlie, cake and ale, who had meanwhile, urged by his usual restlessness, gone forth on one of his little excursions, and he showed them Johnnykin's portfolio, which had been left lying on the tomb in the churchyard. "It's mine," said Johnnykin. "Prove it," said Charlie. "Speak," said Chesme, "to the portfolio. Speak." "Conjure it to speak," she added, impatiently to the friar. "Portfolios. Conjurissimus hocli bendibus. Onus probendi," said the friar solemnly to it. The portfolio at once jumped up on a pair of long grasshopper legs, and it began to dance. And that's the end of this part, guys, of Johnnykin and the Goblins. So, we end where the book grows grasshopper legs and starts to dance. I wonder what will happen next. Thank you for listening, and many blessings.